Okay, so now that we have our data added to our map and we've saved our map, now we need to get our spreadsheet of data that has all of the dinner items for Thanksgiving dinner and all of the states listed down here. We have to somehow bring this data into the shapefile here so that we are able to then create a map, a series of maps to represent where our dinner is coming from. So the way we do this is we make sure that we are always in the shapefile. So the shapefile is this file that we can see on the map here. So that's the USA file. We also know that we are looking at the shapefile because we can tell once we're in the attribute table because it actually has a column called shape, and this is a polygon. And so from here, we want to join our data to this particular data. And if you notice, we need to find something that they have in common. So here they have state name, and our data has state name. So we know that these are the two parts of the data that we need to join together. So we are going to start within the shapefile. So we're in the polygon shapefile. We're going to hit the drop-down menu here, and we are going to choose the joins and relates because we are joining two attributes, or we're joining two tables together based on a similar attribute, which would be state name. So we start here, we're joining attributes from a table, so we're joining data from a table. The first field that we're going to be joining on is called state name. And automatically, the only other piece of data we have in our map is our Thanksgiving spreadsheet. So it shows up, and it looks at the computer looks at this spreadsheet, and the software says, hey, wait a minute, there's a column that looks almost identical to this column, and I'm gonna bet that that's the one we're gonna join on. And that's correct. We want to keep all of the records, and we want to hit OK. And as that join works, we're still, notice that we are still in our shapefile, but we want to see whether or not the data has been appended to the very end of our data. And look, we do. We have some data at the very end. Now notice the very top null. Well, that very top null is Hawaii, and we're actually not going to use Hawaii in our data set, or Alaska in our data set for that matter. We're just going to use the continental US. All right, so now we have joined our data. Now we need to map it. So we can close this. And we are looking at our information here. And if you notice, the way we're looking at our data is it's called list by source, which it gives us the exact location where our data is stored. And this is helpful if we're taking data from different places like the S drive or my documents drive. But it's a little bit clunky to look at if we're trying to work with it. So what we want to do is we want to go to the list by drawing order, and it makes it a little cleaner. So if you look at this information, we are now going to create some maps. So the first map we're going to create is let's create our map of turkeys, because even though I'm a vegetarian, there's still turkey in our house at Thanksgiving because my kids like to eat it. So we'll make sure we map some turkeys. So here, what we're going to do is you can either right mouse click and open the properties, or you can double click and it brings you right into the symbology tab that allows you to create our first map. So we want to map by quantities because we're dealing with turkeys, and we're dealing with numbers of turkeys. So these are the number of turkeys that are, I guess, farmed to be used for Thanksgiving. We are going to choose from the list at the very bottom. We're going to choose our turkeys. And then we are going to choose a color. So you want to choose something maybe that resembles a turkey, or however you want your map to look. I'm going to choose this color here. And if you notice, I'm going to hit apply so we can see our data. So if we hit apply, I can see the data. And you notice that we've dropped out Alaska and Hawaii. Well, there's a problem with our data. And hopefully some of you are looking at this now. The very first range starts at -99. How can we have -99 turkeys? We can't. So we have to actually fix our data here. And we can't just relabel this by putting 0, because 0 is incorrect too, because remember what I said about negative 99? Negative 99 does not mean that there were 0 turkeys. It means that we just don't know how many turkeys they had. It could be 0, but they could have just failed to report the number of turkeys that they've grown. So we're going to fix this data by hitting the classify button. So when we hit classify, we're actually going to create a negative 99 classification so that it can be on its own. So the way we do this is we still want to keep 5 break values, so we're not going to change that. But you're going to click in the break value option, and you're just going to hit 0. And we're going to hit enter. And now what you're going to see when we hit OK is the data is going to be redistributed excuse me, to show that negative 99 to 0 reflects no data available. 0 to the next number is the first classification, and then we go on. But this is pretty ugly with all these decimal places, so we're going to work with changing that. So we hit label, format labels. We're going to get rid of the decimal places here. We're going to hit OK. That looks a lot nicer. And then we're going to change this label up top, because negative 99 to 0 doesn't mean anything. So we are going to say no data available. And then we're going to hit apply. And OK. And you're going to see this change. So now we can see where most of the turkeys are grown in the United States. So we're going to save our map. And we're going to pause.